Welcome back, everyone, to NFL Talking Points. I am your host, Joseph Gardner. Today we are going over Week 6, everything that happened in all of the games. This is just going to be the recap show. I will do a separate show for power rankings and another show previewing Week 7. This show is just for the recap of Week 6. Going to give you a few different charts, pointers, a few different things that I saw, starting with Thursday Night Football, Eagles versus Giants. This game was kind of insane in the fact that the Giants beat the Eagles 34-17 at home in the Meadowlands. This is an Eagles team that is struggling and a Giants team that is on the up and up. If we look at specifically this Eagles passing game, I'm going to put up a chart here. This is the quarterback efficiency if you account for drops. Essentially, this takes in the EPA, and Jordan Love right now leads the league in EPA, followed very closely by Sam Darnold, Drake May. Jordan Love drops down to 7th if you account for drops. Jalen Hurts, if you account for drops, is in the bottom 10 in EPA per dropback. You can also look at how quarterbacks perform in expected passing situations. And this is expected passing situation when a pass is expected at a probability of 70% or more. And Jalen Hurts is number 6, worst. 6th worst in that category. If the Eagles need to pass, it's not looking good. And that's kind of just what we saw here. The Eagles rely on getting ahead early and running up the numbers. Same with the Lions, very similar, although I think the Eagles are in much worse shape than the Lions are. That said, this Giants team played really well, and Jackson Dart and Cam Scatterbo are absolutely insane. They're super fun to watch. That said, we'll see what this Giants team becomes. I expect more losses coming for this Eagles team, though. This is going to be very similar to the 2023 Eagles. Moving on, we'll talk about the Broncos versus the Jets. This game took place in England. This game took place in the UK. So, sorry for our over the seas fans. This game was a tragedy to watch. Broncos win 13-11. This game was not fun to watch. That said, I did want to point out on this success rate chart that the Broncos were actually way better than the Jets, even though they only won by 2. This was really not a close game, and yet somehow it was a 2-point game. So, looking at the chart, the Broncos were about 8% more successful on offense than the Jets on net success rate. So you account for special teams and all the other stuff, that can account for it, but strictly offense via offense, Broncos 8% more successful. That's quite a bit. It's kind of a shocker that this was so close. So moving on, we'll do the Rams and Ravens next. The Ravens looking absolutely terrible. You can see on this chart as well. The Rams are almost up to 9, almost 10% more higher success rate than the Baltimore Ravens. This was 17-3 at the Ravens Stadium. Ravens at home. We need to have a discussion about whether this Ravens team can even make the playoffs this year. A lot of people are saying that they're not out of it because if they can get some pieces back, Their division is pretty open. I mean, you've got the Steelers, and the AFC in general is pretty open. There's not a lot of people, there's not a lot of teams really fighting for those last few wild card spots. You've got teams like the Chargers, you've got teams, and I'll just bring up the playoff picture that where it is right now. Right now for the AFC, I mean, in the wild card spots, you've got the Broncos, Jaguars, Bills. The Chargers are in with winning their division. If the Broncos end up passing them, and you've got the Chargers. The Patriots are winning their division after their win against the Bills. We'll get to that. There's just this whole conference is wide open for these Ravens, and so I could see a way to do it. I'm not gonna say they won't make the playoffs at this point, but sheesh, I don't think they've got much of a chance. Rams looked good though. Moving on, we've got the Cowboys at the Panthers. This one was kind of shocking, especially if you look at the net success rate. If we pull this up, the Panthers are almost 15% higher net success rate than the Cowboys. This is in Carolina. Carolina wins 30-27 on a walk-off field goal. Bryce Young looked really good. And, I mean, pretty much everyone has looked good against this Cowboys defense. Dak Prescott looked phenomenal. If we go to EPA quarterback efficiency, accounting drops, Dak Prescott leads the league in EPA per drop back. And so you feel for Dak, man. He is balling out. He's playing out of his mind, and he's got people dropping the ball. His defense can't stop anything, and this is where we're at. And the Cowboys are at another loss to their to their record, and it doesn't look like the Cowboys have much of a chance to do much in this with the way that this NFC playoff picture is looking. I mean, the NFC seems way more competitive. You've got the Bucks, Packers, Niners, and Eagles. Maybe if the Eagles completely crater like they did in 2023, you could see the Cowboys squeaking in there, but you've got the Commanders to face as well in that division. And then you've got past teams like the Rams, the Lions, or the Seahawks. This is just such a competitive playoff picture in the NFC. So, like I said, I feel for Dak. You feel for the Cowboys fans, but this is probably not the year that the Cowboys are even making the playoffs. Moving on, we've got the Cardinals and the Colts. This game was closer than I expected it to be. Cardinals losing to the Colts at home 31-27. The Colts, with that win, take the 1 seed in the AFC, and I would not be shocked if they hold on to that for a long time, even possibly to the end of the season. This AFC South division is not very good. I mean, you've got the Jaguars, who are playing well, but then you've got other teams like the Texans, who have played pretty terribly, especially on offense. They've been horrific. And you've got the Titans, arguably the worst team in the league, if not, bottom 3 at the very least. This Colts team has a chance to really do something this year, and I'm really excited to watch them. That said, the Cardinals team, they put up a fight. They've put up a fight in pretty much all of their games, but the net success rate tells a different story. Colts almost up to 8% net success rate over the Cardinals. In my opinion, this Colts team is one of the best in the league, and in the Power Rankings podcast, you will see where I put them. You'll see where Matthew Arscott puts them. Moving on, we've got the Seahawks and the Jaguars. Seahawks go into Duval and take on the Jaguars. They end up coming out of there with a win 20-12. Jacksonville is looking like a decent team still. They've got a really good defense, but Seattle looks like a powerhouse. Sam Darnold is playing out of his mind. Jackson Smith and Jigba is probably the best receiver in the league right now. And it's not really even close. Puka Nakua is probably the only one that's even close to him. And then there's a very, very, very wide gap between those two and everyone else. That said, these are two really good teams. One NFC, one AFC. Both of them with pretty tough divisions to go against. Like they've got the Jaguars don't have a tough division. They've got, like I said, the Titans and the Texans. Not much to go against there, but they do face the Colts, which I think are the one of the best teams in the AFC and in the league. And the Seahawks are playing teams like the Rams, the 49ers, maybe the Cardinals because they've been somewhat competitive in all of their games. But Seahawks have a tough division, and I believe that the Seahawks will be able to overcome that pretty easily. So moving on, we've got the Chargers going to Miami to face the Dolphins. This Chargers team is super beat up, but still come out of Miami with a win, 29-27. A pretty close game, and if you look at the net success rate, it tells a very similar story. Chargers at 3% net success rate over the Dolphins. Dolphins are one of the worst teams in the league, especially their defense. Very similar to the Cowboys, but the Dolphins don't have Dak Prescott, and that's kind of where their team drops down to a bottom 5 team. Dak Prescott, this is, again, not to go off of the Chargers-Dolphins game, Dak Prescott is playing out of his mind. He's keeping his team out of the bottom 5 pretty much single-handedly. Anyway, Chargers-Dolphins. There's a lot that you could say about either of these teams with where they're at. Tyreek Hill being injured is a big part of this Dolphins offense, and yet they've found a way to move around that as if it wasn't actually that big of a deal. But their defense is just not good. And on the flip side, the Chargers, with so many different injuries, offensive line, both of their starting running backs, that they're finding a way to get it done. Justin Herbert is playing really well. His receivers are playing well. And so Chargers get the win. Neither of these teams I expect to make the playoffs, honestly. I think it'd be cool if the Chargers made it, and they had such a good start at the beginning of the year, facing all three of their division opponents, winning all 3 of them. I just don't see enough pieces, especially healthy pieces on this Chargers team, to get them more wins over teams better than the Dolphins, who are one of the worst in the league. Moving on, you've got the Browns and the Steelers. I was having a hard time picking this game because I really liked this Browns defense, and yet Steelers win 23-9 at home. The Browns haven't won against the Steelers in Pittsburgh since like 2003 or something. It has been a very, very, very long time since the Browns have gone into Pittsburgh and won. That said, if you look at the net success rate on offense, Steelers are only 2% more successful than the Browns, and yet score 23-9. That actually, I think the score better dictates what this game looked like. Aaron Rodgers was playing out of his mind. He's been really good all year. And if we look at the quarterback efficiency accounting for drops, Aaron Rodgers not phenomenal, but above probably about average, just a little bit above average. But he's around people like Matthew Stafford and Trevor Lawrence and Josh Allen, and Justin Herbert's below him. It's just one of those things. It's like you've gotta you gotta take the good with the bad, and Rodgers is playing really well, and his defense has been somewhat shaky, but they held the Browns to 9 points in this game. Um, I don't know if I trust this team to do anything in the playoffs still, but they've shown a lot of they've shown a lot of fight in every game, and it seems like they come to play every single game. And if your team thinks they can win and they come to play like they're going to win, those things will. I mean, you'll get wins more often than not. So next game we've got the Patriots and the Saints. This Patriots team is on the up and up. It just keeps getting better. Drake May is top 3 in EPA per play, or EPA per pass attempt. If you go over to expected EPA and expected passing situations, he's number 1. He's the best quarterback in the league, followed by people like Lamar Jackson, Jordan Love, Dak Prescott, Matthew Stafford, Patrick Mahomes. Big names, and he is number 1 in all of them in expected pass situations. Drake May is playing out of his mind. He should be in the MVP conversation. I think he moved up to 7 or 6 this week, depending on which sports book you look at. So that said, they go into New Orleans, come out with a win, 25-19. The Saints team is not a good team, but they're not bad either. They've played really well against top tier opponents. I mean, they beat the Bills last week, and they only lost by 6 to the Patriots, who look like a really good team at this point. So, from my look at it, it looks like the Saints team has a lot they're building, and if you compare what the Saints offense looks like with the minimal pieces, and you compare that to the Eagles offense last year with how many pieces they had, this Eagles offense was high-flying. They were really good last year, and they've taken a significant drop this year. And I attribute that to Kellen Moore pretty much entirely. Kellen Moore is a really good coach, a really good offensive play caller. I like where the Saints team is heading. I say it every week, and every week they lose except for the week they beat the Bills, but every week I say, I like this Saints team. I like what they're building. Don't be shocked if they get a couple more wins that you aren't expecting later in the year. Next, you've got the Titans and Raiders. Titans coming off of their first win of the season and going to Las Vegas to face the Raiders. They come out with a loss, 10-20 Raiders win. This Raiders team is bad. This Titans team is worse. That's pretty much all it is. The Raiders had a 5% net success rate, higher than the Titans, and that's about what we saw. Ashton Genty looked okay. Geno didn't throw like 10 interceptions. More or less, this is just two bad teams dueling it out. I don't take much from this game besides the fact that the Titans are still worse than the Raiders, which we kind of already knew. Next, you've got the 49ers and the Buccaneers. This game I was expecting to be pretty close. If you look at the net success rate, Bucs ended up 9% higher net success rate than the 49ers, and the score reflected that. Tampa Bay wins at home 30-19. Baker Mayfield is playing out of his mind. He should also be in the MVP conversation. He is, behind Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes, which kind of blows my mind. I think that he should definitely be above both of those quarterbacks in MVP odds. He's playing so well, and he's got a winning team. I know that the MVP often goes to a team that is really good and it has a lot of wins to go along with the quarterback play, which is why Dak Prescott is not high in MVP odds, even though he should be. That said, the Bucs are playing as a team better than the Chiefs or the Bills right now. They're one of the only one-loss teams. So it sure feels like the Bucs are a better team than even sports books are saying. Baker Mayfield is a better quarterback than what the sports books are saying. So I would say, for me, this feels like an NFC championship level team with Baker Mayfield leading the way. And right now they're the number 1 seed in the NFC. Looking at the playoff picture, you've got the Bucs at the 1 seed, and then San Francisco at 3, with the Rams and Seahawks both in the playoffs from the NFC West, with Rams at 7, Seahawks at 5, Niners at 3, Bucs at 1. So, I like this Niners team, but there's so many injuries, and Fred Warner went out with a bad injury in this game, and that pretty much changed the entire game. If you look at the Bucs offense before Fred Warner goes off with the injury and after Fred Warner goes off with the injury, it's night and day. The Bucs had 3 straight punts, and then Fred Warner leaves the game, and they have I think it was 5 of their 6 next possessions are all scores. I think 4 of which were touchdowns. I mean, it was night and day, the difference between having Fred Warner on the field and off the field. And I think that's going to affect them the rest of the year. So for me, this Niners team is falling. Just so many injuries. And this Bucs team, it's got to rise, dude. They are literally the 1 seed in the NFC. And one of the only one-loss teams left. So next, you've got the Bengals and the Packers. This Packers team, if you look at pretty much any metric, is one of the best in the league, but specifically in explosive plays, this blew my mind. And this is kind of a Cowboys stat too. I want to show you the Cowboys. So this chart essentially shows you the explosive play rate on offense, on the horizontal axis, and the explosive play rate allowed, which is how many explosive plays you allow on defense on the vertical. And the Packers allow probably are tied with the Rams and Steelers for least number of explosive plays allowed on defense, and they're tied for second with the Lions and Bears for the explosive plays on offense. I mean, defense and offense combined, they are the best team in explosive play rate. And then you've got the Cowboys, who literally have their logo being chopped off at the bottom of the graphic because their defense is allowing so many explosive plays, and their offense leads the league in explosive plays by a pretty significant margin. If you want to have a fun game to watch, just watch the Cowboys every week, because it's 2 offenses that are going to just go haywire every single week. High scoring. That said, this is about the Bengals and Packers. This Packers team is a really good team. And a lot of Packers fans are saying, oh, there's problems. We only beat the Bengals by 9 points. How are we keeping it that close? It wasn't that close. If you look at the Packers EPA per play, on pretty much every offensive statistic is positive. It's a really good team. And you look at the net success rate. The Packers beat the Bengals by almost 8% net success rate. That's very good. That's along the lines of the Panthers beating the Cowboys, and that's along the lines of the Bucks beating the Niners, and like these are anyway. I think that we can get a little bit ahead of ourselves with how much we expect this Packers team to be, especially after weeks 1 and 2. That said, it's a very good team, and this Bengals team is one of the worst in the league, even with Joe Flacco, who has looked a little bit better than Jake Browning, especially on the turnover front, but you've still got one of the worst offensive lines in the league, and a quarterback who just sits in the pocket and can't move at all. So, moving on to Sunday Night Football, we've got the Lions and the Chiefs. Chiefs at Arrowhead take care of business 32-17. The Lions could not get anything going in this one. And the Chiefs don't even have Rashee Rice yet. He comes back at the beginning of next week. This was the last week the Chiefs don't have Rashee Rice. And they look like they didn't even need him. A big part of that is this Lions defense, especially their defensive backs, are injured. They've got a huge hole in that aspect of their team. That said, this Chiefs team is pretty much back. I can't raise them up too high in the power rankings because it is a Lions defense that is quite terrible. And the Lions offense relies on getting ahead early and running the ball to keep you at bay. And so if you can get ahead early on the Lions and force Jared Goff to put you in the game and keep you in the game, that's the way that you beat the Lions. That's the way that the Packers beat the Lions in week 1. You get ahead early, you keep everything in front of you, you load the box and let Jared Goff beat you with his arm. And that's what KC did. And it's the recipe for success against this Lions team. As soon as this Lions team gets a lead, they're going to run it up your throat. They're going to just pound the ball, and you have got to find a way to stop that, and it's really difficult. This Lions team was our number 1 team in power rankings last week, and the Chiefs weren't even in our top tier. That will probably change. Check out the Power Rankings podcast to see where we put those teams. That said, Chiefs with a 5% net success rate over the Lions. And another interesting fact, Chiefs pass about 10% more than expected. This is the pass rate over expected. This chart shows each team's overall pass rate over expected over the last 4 weeks. And the Chiefs are at 10, almost probably 11%. They're passing more than expected, which makes sense. Their run game has been terrible. Patrick Mahomes is their leading rusher on the team. So, I mean, this Chiefs team is one-dimensional. It's pass the ball because we can't run it. So, if you're facing the Chiefs, play cover 2, play a deep shell, make sure that you can just defend the pass. Force them to run the ball and see where it gets you. And a lot of times that means that they're still going to pass, and Mahomes will be the one scrambling the ball. Put a spy on him, and it feels like this Chiefs offense is one that's easier to stop. But Lions couldn't do it. Injured secondary. And yeah. Moving to Monday Night Football, we had the 2 different games, the Bills-Falcons, Bears-Commanders. I'm going to talk Bills-Falcons first. This Bills team has issues. This Falcons team had a 3, almost 4% net success rate more than the Bills. Falcons win 24-14 at home. This Bills team now has lost to the Saints and the Falcons in back-to-back weeks. There are games that they've even won have been against teams like the Jets and the Ravens, where they needed a 15-point comeback. Like, or sorry, not the Saints. They beat they lost to the Patriots. They beat the Saints, but that was a close one too. Anyway, what my point is, the Bills have played close against teams that are not good, and teams that are okay to maybe decent, they've lost to, and that is very concerning. This offense didn't seem to have any answers for the Falcons' defense. If I'm a Bills fan, I'm kind of concerned. I mean, you've got Josh Allen, but Josh Allen can't be the whole team every week. Josh Allen will get you victories pretty much on his own multiple times in a season. But there's just not the it just doesn't seem cohesive enough on offense and defense. If you look at the number of penalty yards that they are given, you'll see that Josh Allen is first, so he's the most helped when it comes to penalty yards, followed by like Dak Prescott, Matthew Stafford, Daniel Jones. A lot of these, like, quarterbacks that we expect to be good are also getting help on the penalty front. But if you actually look at the Bills on offensive and defensive EPA per play, their offense is, top 5 probably. Their defense is in the bottom half, though. And Josh Allen just can't do enough to be able to stop this, to stop the bleeding. And if you look at like the Bills wide receiver core, it feels like there are a lot of kind of mid playmakers. None of them are really stepping up into a bigger role. And again, this defense is just not playing well on the. And anyway, this Bills team is shaky to me. We'll see what they look like at the end of the year, but I would not be shocked if the Patriots take the division. I would bet on the Patriots taking the division at this point. Going to the Falcons side of the ball, though, this Falcons team is really good. Statistically, they've been phenomenal. They have this wacky 0-30 loss against the Panthers. And besides that, they've played everything else incredibly close against really good opponents like the Bucs, and they just beat the Bills. So this Falcons team, I think I could see them getting into the playoffs. It's a competitive NFC, though. I mean, going back to this playoff picture, you've got to beat teams like the Rams, the Lions, or the Seahawks to make this playoffs picture. And it's tough competition to be able to go against that, or you've got to beat the Bucs for the NFC South, and that looks like a really difficult thing to do as well, considering that the Bucs are one of the only teams with one loss. So moving on, last team, second Monday Night Football game, you've got the Bears and Commanders. The Bears with their second win, 25-24. They won 25-24 last week against the Raiders. They won 25-24 against the Commanders, coming off of 3 Bears defensive turnovers or takeaways. The defense of this Bears team pretty much won them the game. The fact that the Bears led the turnover battle 3-0 and only won by 1 point should be concerning for if you're a Bears fan. It won't be, because they'll say, Bears are the best team in the league, whatever. I the other thing that I saw on this Bears team, Caleb Williams is getting put into probably the best situation, play-by-play of any quarterback in the league. He has the highest completion percentage expected, meaning that essentially Ben Johnson is scheming up plays with open guys that should be completions. And yet Caleb Williams is 32nd in completion percentage over expected, meaning that on difficult throws he's not making it, and on easy throws he's not making it. And that's concerning. And yet they're 3-2, coming off of a 3-game win streak. DeAndre Swift played phenomenal in this game. If you look at the EPA per dropback, Caleb Williams is in the bottom 10, though. Based off of the way that this scheme is going, it shouldn't be that way. If I'm a Bears fan, I am seeing improvement from Caleb Williams, but it feels like it's mostly because of Ben Johnson and not Caleb Williams. And to me, that's concerning. And maybe that's because I have never been one to say that Caleb Williams is going to be a good quarterback. I've always had my doubts about him. From the day he was drafted, I felt like he was not the best quarterback prospect. I thought Jaden Daniels was the best one, and that I would probably take most of the other quarterbacks in that draft over Caleb Williams. That said, Ben Johnson playing phenomenal, going to the Commanders side of the ball. 3 offensive turnovers is really what kills a game for you. You end up losing by 1. One of which was a pick in the red zone that, could have had points on the board, took points off of the board. I don't know what to think of this Commanders team. They have played to the level of their opponent pretty much week after week, it feels. That said, if anyone can sneak into the NFC that is not in this playoff picture right now, I would bet on the Commanders taking the Eagles' spot at the 4 seed. I could see the Eagles regressing, Commanders coming up to fill that spot, but they've got to play better than they did against the Bears. So, that's NFL talking points for this week. Come back later in the week to hear our Power Rankings podcast, as well as our Week 7 preview. Hopefully you guys got some information from the graphs, the charts, whatever, to be able to talk about football, learn more about what's going on in the league. Come back later. See us for Power Rankings. Thanks.